Part 16. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 152. The Empress will actually be absent. On the way back to Mount Ime, Yuzireng's eyes were in a daze. She never thought that after everything was ready, Empress Qingyu would leave Tianyuan Palace at this time. This conference was a solution that Yuzireng finally came up with after several days of hard thinking. She had been preparing for this moment for countless days, and she had placed countless expectations on it. But I never expected that it would fail for this reason that even sounded absurd. Why did the Empress suddenly leave Tianyuan Palace? Yuzireng was puzzled. As an emperor with the supreme status, there is nothing worthy of Chu Qingyu's personal escape. Over the years, apart from encounters with other great emperors' forces, the Empress would indeed rarely leave Tianyuan Palace. But unfortunately, it was just at this time. Elder Wang from Tianyuan Palace said that Nai Chen and the Empress were going to deal with important matters. Yuzireng talked with Elder Wang for a while and learned that the Empress seemed to have a closer relationship with Nai Chen recently. Is it possible? A trace of doubt arose in his heart, but it was quickly dismissed by Yuzireng shaking his head. Rumor has it that Nai Chen has awakened his true form of enlightenment, and his aptitude and understanding are terrifying, so it is normal for him to be valued by the Empress. More importantly, as a fanatical follower of the Empress, she believed that she knew what kind of person the Empress was. Aloof, cold, and arrogant, he will not put anyone in his eyes. Even the world outside Lanchuan continent is not qualified to shake the Empress's indestructible heart. Even the Empress has not mentioned the matter of writing on the uselessness of Taoist companions in the past 100 years. But only Empress Qingyu can never have any connection with the word love. What's more, the other party is just a growing disciple. Strictly speaking, the Empress even had a master-disciple relationship with Nai Chen. Such a treasonable thing, how could the Empress do it? Regarding this, Yuzireng even dared to use her own personality as a guarantee. After her painstaking plan failed, Yuzireng couldn't help but feel a little regretful, so she had to return in the direction of Mount Ime, thinking about what to do next time. She was about to arrive at Yinglapo, but suddenly, she felt a very familiar aura. The aura clearly exuded a cold majesty, but for some reason, it felt a bit weak at this moment. Strange, why does it feel so familiar? Etc. Could this breath be? Yuzireng, who was slightly confused at first, suddenly widened his eyes and stared into the woods in astonishment. Unconsciously, her body was trembling slightly. Yuzireng wanted to look, but didn't dare to look. After making great determination, she finally looked into the forest with her eyes covered with spiritual power. Through the layers of dense branches and leaves, she could clearly see the supreme object that she had longed for and revered day and night, Empress Qingyu. But it was completely different from what she had remembered. The Empress at this moment still looked a bit cold as before. Those icy muscles and jade bones, and the extremely beautiful cheeks have a slight blush. There are even traces of charming emotions in the flowing autumn eyes. How could the Empress show such an expression? Yuzireng turned her head slightly, but when she saw clearly what was next to her, a thunderous thunder seemed to fall in her heart. The Empress's soft, boneless body tilted slightly, and what she was leaning on was actually Nai Chen's shoulder. Nai Chen, how is it possible that it's really him? No, no. Yuzireng's mind was in confusion, not only because the Empress's secret meeting was with Nai Chen. More importantly, she could never have imagined that the Empress, who was so aloof and even wrote on the uselessness of Taoist couples, could actually fall in love. Even though Yuzireng tried to convince herself over and over again, the Empress just happened to be sitting with Nai Chen. But the facts left her unable to make any rebuttal. At this moment, the Empress' eyes were as tender as water, and her cheeks were not painted with makeup but had a hint of blush. She was leaning lightly on Nai Chen's shoulder without any scruples. Such a scene can no longer be explained. The Empress is really in love, and the girl is none other than Nai Chen. Why would even the Empress fall into it? Yu Ziyang's body seemed to be crumbling, and her face instantly turned pale. What she saw before her eyes completely shattered everything she had been holding onto. Yu Ziyang has always regarded the Empress as her supreme goal. She admired the Empress immensely and tried her best to learn from her and believed in her theory of the uselessness of Taoist companions. But she never imagined that the Empress would one day. Even the Empress is already in love. What has she been insisting on all this time? Click. Yu Ziyang seemed to feel the sound of Taoist heart breaking, and flew staggeringly in the direction of Mount Imei. Her eyes were straight, her nose felt sore, and her eyes seemed to be about to shed tears. Why? In Yu Ziyang's heart, there was only a cry that seemed to be close to despair. In the forest, Nai Chen noticed a fleeting breath, and his eyes suddenly narrowed slightly. Forget it, I will pay attention to her later. Chu Qingyu said at this moment. Nai Chen showed a trace of doubt. Wife, are you sure you don't want to catch her? Wait. Nai Chen suddenly smiled subtly. Wife, you don't want to catch her now, but have to wait a while before going. Don't you want to break the atmosphere, or even... What? It's just that I guess she won't dare to tell anyone, so I'm giving her a chance to reflect. It's not what you think. Chu Qingyu immediately retorted in panic. But the cherry blossoms fell slowly, and her evasive eyes and a hint of shyness that could not be concealed all fell into Nai Chen's eyes. The mountains and forests were silent, with only the occasional crisp bird calls and petals falling. Such a quiet and beautiful scene is definitely an opportunity that should not be missed. Any man would never miss such an opportunity. Wife, I don't believe you. Nai Chen smiled and moved forward, and slowly pressed on. You, what are you going to do? Chu Qingyu retreated slightly. But this small step back was the same as not retreating. Nai Chen said helplessly, Wife, your thoughts are too easy to guess. Thoughts? What thoughts? Although this emperor only took a half step back, he was absolutely serious. Nai Chen no longer believed Chu Qingyu's words. With just a little force, a great emperor was pressed to the ground by him. Leaves and cherry blossoms fell all over the sky, birds in the forest chirped crisply, and black hair spread on the ground. Chu Qingyu's soft lips were also gently covered. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 153. In the quiet woods, a petite body was hidden behind the trees, with small eyes full of astonishment. Empress, Nai Chen, I never expected that their relationship is actually real. Ao Ian's face turned red after witnessing the scene in front of her. She had already sensed something was wrong when she heard the conversation between the Empress and Nai Chen. The tone and demeanor of the conversation between the two were clearly the flirting word that Lao Long taught him. But now, these two people started chewing in the forest without any scruples. Not suitable for children, not suitable for children. Ao Lan covered her eyes with her hands, feeling her heart pounding and her heart throbbing. I really want to see it. No, it's not suitable for children to watch. No, I almost forgot that I am over 200 years old. How can I be inappropriate for children? Ao Lan, who suddenly realized this problem, spread his fingers and spread his fingers, his eyes flashing, firmly fixed on the scene in the forest. Wow, the needle doesn't poke. Stop talking. Although this Nai Chen's cultivation is far inferior to that of the Empress, he can still have the upper hand. It's amazing. It looks good, let's work harder. Ao Lan became more and more interested, and suddenly realized a problem. According to the useful knowledge Lao Long told her, although she had never seen it before, Ao Lan roughly understood that this kind of mouth-to-mouth behavior was called kissing. And Lao Long said that generally the next step after kissing is mating, that is, mating. So, Nai-Chen is going to mate with the Empress. Thinking of this, Aolan suddenly felt that his heart was beating so many times faster, and his cheeks were red and hot. He couldn't imagine it at all. After all, even in her mind, Empress Qingyu is the supreme human being. The strength is terrifying, and the coldness and arrogance are inviolable. Nai-Chen signed a contract with himself, so he could barely be regarded as half of his master. What a great success! Aolan felt elated that Nai-Chen could actually achieve the step, and couldn't help but feel a little proud. But when she thought of the word mating, she couldn't help but shyly look at it cautiously, her eyes almost completely attracted. At this time, Nai-Chen had been slowly pushed away by Chu Qingyu. I'm going to chase the head of Mount Imei first. Today, I'll stop here first. Chu Qingyu's cheeks were as red as a ripe apple. Hey, wife, are you sure you don't want to stay in this situation for a while? Nai-Chen coughed lightly and tried to persuade him. No, it's taking too long. If she spills the beans, I'd better go first. With a hint of coldness, Chu Qingyu turned around and flew towards Mount Imei without hesitation. Only after flying a long distance did she let out a breath of blue air and put her palms on her chest, feeling her rapidly beating heart. Chu Qingyu still had a certain impression of Yu Ziyang. She didn't think Yu Ziyang dared to tell such things. Moreover, now that Nai-Chen's strength is gradually increasing, Chu Qingyu actually doesn't have much worry about exposing the relationship between the two. I have even begun to think about choosing a time to make it public. Only. Recalling her excited and restless heart just now, Chu Qingyu knew clearly that if she continued like that just now, I'm afraid. No, I can't continue thinking about it. With a trace of blush on her cheeks that had not completely faded, Chu Qingyu quickly increased her speed and flew towards the distance, trying to calm her restless heart with the cold breeze. In the forest, Nai-Chen stood up from the lawn and recalled the feeling just now. I have to admit that my wife is much more skilled than before. What's more important is. Recalling the feeling just now, Nai-Chen couldn't help but feel a lot of emotions. Although today's wife looks as cold as before, in fact, she is completely different from before. Even when she moved secretly, Chu Qingyu deliberately pretended not to see it. If this had happened in the past, he would have been slapped away long ago. But my wife's figure is really better than she looks. Until now, Nai-Chen still feels a little unfinished when recalling the excellent feel. However, it's time to punish the little guy who peeked. Nai-Chen suddenly rushed towards a big tree in the distance without any warning, and suddenly pulled Aolan out from behind the tree. He, I didn't see anything. It was all an accident. I really just happened to appear here. Suddenly caught at the scene, Aolan tried to get away with a cute smile. Unfortunately, the subtle smile on Nai-Chen's lips showed complete distrust. What are you going to do? I'm still a child. Being firmly grasped by Nai-Chen, Aolan suddenly looked a little panicked. Are you telling me that over 200 years old is still a child? It seems it's time to use the Empress punishment method. In the woods, Nai-Chen raised and lowered his hands. Immediately, pitiful cries continued to sound. The majestic Dragon King of the West Sea was spanked until he cried. Do you realize your mistake? I know I was wrong. Do you still dare to take a peek? How dare you? I don't dare anymore, I don't dare anymore. After making sure that Aolan was completely convinced, Nai-Chen finally stopped. The huge Emishan mountains have beautiful scenery. Now that my wife is going to take care of things, she can just enjoy it. Grabbing Aoian's neck, Nai-Chen flew over the mountains. The scenery below comes into view. The endless mountains are undulating. It is summer, and the mountain flowers are everywhere and the trees are dense. There are petals all over the sky on the falling cherry blossom slope, and there are also buildings in Mount Imei. Such a magnificent scene is far beyond the blue star. Especially when some female disciples of Mount Ime fly on swords, the scene is particularly beautiful. However, when passing a small hill, Nai-Chen suddenly heard a few whispers through the wind ear. I heard that Mount Ime is holding a Taoist couple conference on the surface, but it is actually to find Empress King Yu. What a courage, although it can be regarded as an immortal sect. But they will pay the price sooner or later for violating the will of heaven of human nature. Empress King Yu not only angered my emperor, but also spread her evil remarks about Taoist couples everywhere. Although she is called the Empress, she will be punished by my emperor sooner or later. That's right, we are mortals anyway, what's there to be afraid of? These sects claim to be righteous sects, will they kill us? We should go down the mountain now, disrupt that shitty conference, and humiliate Empress King Yu in person, and see what they can do to us. Long live my emperor! Long live my emperor! Led by a bearded farmer, several people who had no cultivation at all held hoes and ran down the mountain aggressively. Everyone, who is the Empress you just said you wanted to punish? But at this moment, a figure fell from the sky. The golden dragon was under it. This person actually came on a dragon. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 154. Dragon, this is a dragon. Strong wind pressure suddenly swept in all directions, knocking several people back a step, and their faces became extremely pale. In the eyes of ordinary people, dragons are as majestic as gods, and they are respected. But now, although this dragon has a slightly smaller frame, it is extremely majestic and has golden scales all over its body, is being ridden beneath him. Such a scene instantly had a strong impact on several people's hearts. You ask who the Empress is? Are you someone close to the Empress? Monk, don't think that just because you are riding a dragon can make us fear you. The bearded commoner suppressed the fear in his heart and pointed at Nai-Chen tremblingly. The two people beside him also tried their best to straighten their backs. But no matter how they tried to overcome the fear in their hearts, they were completely unable to hide the awe in their hearts when facing a golden-scaled dragon. You still dare to be tough? Nai-Chen sneered. Looks like it's time to show off my power to you. Aolan. Hate them. Yes. Aolan responded and breathed out a dragon's breath. The majestic aura surged around, making several people even more fearful. In their fearful gazes, Aolan opened the abyss-like dragon sky and roared. Woof! Nai-Chen was stunned, and so were several common people. Is this the roar of a dragon? Isn't this the sound of a dog barking? What the hell are you doing? Nai-Chen plucked out a handful of dragon hair from Aoian's body. It hurts, I yelled wrongly. Let me think about it. Why did you scream? Don't worry, they're just a few mortals who don't even practice cultivation. Look at me easily frightening them. Aolan smiled proudly, thought for a moment, and opened his mouth again. The golden-scaled holy dragon carries the destiny of heaven and earth and travels among the mountains and rivers. Either bring blessings, or cause disaster. All living beings bow their heads, and all people are in awe. Since ancient times, humans have admired and feared the existence of dragons. Even with the embarrassing scene just now, at this moment, fear instantly filled the hearts of several people. The sun shines down, reflecting off the Aolan dragon's scales. They couldn't imagine how terrifying this dragon roar would be. This is a dragon. The beard had long lost its previous aura, his face was pale, his thick lips were trembling, and his eyes were full of fear and terror. Finally, Aolan burst out with momentum again and shouted. Meow. For a moment, the atmosphere became a little awkward. Hey, did I yell wrong again? Noticing Nai-Chen's increasingly gloomy expression, Aolan suddenly realized something was wrong. I have no choice but to stay in Tianyun Palace for too long recently. Moreover, those sisters always teach me some strange knowledge. So much so that for such a long time, Aolan had forgotten what an authentic dragon roar sounded like. However, she is very confident. As the Dragon King of the West Sea, he has an ancestral bloodline, and his bloodline became purer after eating the golden-scaled carp. The blood in his body will not deceive him, and the power of the dragon hidden deepest will never change. He is the Dragon King, a dragon with ancestral blood. Sooner or later, he will represent the dragon clan and become a strong man known to the world. This roar will show his pride as the Dragon King. After hard work, Aolan finally let out a loud roar. Woof. Eh? Why do you feel like you yelled wrongly? Weird, weird, I'll try again. Meow. Woof. Meow. Woof. The atmosphere at the scene was extremely awkward for a time. Several people who were originally afraid of Aolan and almost fainted from fright just now listened helplessly to the weird sounds in their ears. Not only did the fear of Aolan disappear, but he even felt a little pitiful. This dragon's brain seems not working well? Of course Aolan's dragon power is gone. The light transformed, and Aolan transformed into the form of a girl again. Noticing everyone's disgusted and contemptuous looks, she jumped up and down anxiously. I am the Dragon King of the West Sea, the Dragon King. What just happened was just an accident. If you don't believe me, I'll yell at you, meow. Meow you, when you go back, hurry up and learn how to call a dragon. Nai-chan picked up Aolan and threw it behind him. Facing these common people, he stepped out step by step with an extremely unfriendly smile. Flames burned from Nai-chan's fist, instantly frightening several people. Although they had heard of the monk's magical powers, this was their first time seeing them. Flames growing on people's hands? Don't you want to burn your hands into pig's trotters? What are you going to do? You are a righteous monk, don't you think you can take action against weak common people like us? The bearded men retreated step by step. Even though they were holding it in their hands, they did not dare to wave it at Nai-chan. Just trying to use moral kidnapping. Yes, you righteous monks all say that you care about the people of the world, root out evil and only do good deeds. We common people don't know any magic, and sometimes we can't even eat. No matter how big your fault is, can you still have the heart to attack us? This statement is the direction that has been circulating in Wangcheng. It is said that as long as such words are said, no cultivator will really do it no matter what kind of thing is done. With such support, the bearded man and the other two people are obviously confident. But when they looked at Nai-chan again, they were surprised to find that not only did Nai-chan not stop his pace, but he walked faster and faster, and the smile on the corner of his mouth was even colder. What are you going to do? Do you really have the heart to attack us? Aren't you afraid of heaven's punishment? Heaven's punishment? Unfortunately, I was born in the demon sect, but I am not afraid of heaven's punishment at all. Nai-chan sneered and walked closer step by step. What? You are from the demon sect? The three people were horrified in an instant, and completely lost their composure just now. A trace of fear emerged in their hearts, and the sickle in the bearded man's hand fell to the ground with a bang. The other two saw Nai-chan's gradually approaching figure, and they were completely panicked, and they actually fled in two directions directly to the distance. Unfortunately, Nai-chan did not give them any chance at all. In an instant, Nai-chan effortlessly caught up with the two men. One punch and one kick. Bang, bang. The two mortals flew out. If Nai-chan hadn't used even 1/10 of his strength in these two kicks, they would have been killed on the spot. What do you want to do? A chill invaded his whole body, and the bearded man staggered back a step, but was tripped by the stone behind his feet and fell to the ground. I heard that your king has a problem with the empress. I want to ask, which country are you from, and who is the king? Nai-Chen smiled and squatted down. Why are you asking this? The bearded man was pale, and his body was shaking with fear. Nothing, just going to destroy a country. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 155. The bearded man tried to resist, but after being beaten black and blue by Nai-Chen's iron fist, he finally told the whole story. His country is called Dainyu, a country with a population of 1 million. Although a population of 1 million is not that large, it is also a number that cannot be underestimated. Dainyu, like most countries, is an ordinary country where it is extremely difficult to contact monks. But the only difference is that their emperor is a retired monk. And it is said that it is the once powerful Kanjai Saint Emperor. This Kanjai Saint Emperor seems to have a great aversion to Empress Kingyu, so that in the entire Dainyu country, the people have a very bad impression of Empress Kingyu, and even specially built temples and ancestral halls to slander Empress Kingyu. The most strange thing is that they have never attacked other places of the Empress, and all their remarks are almost directed at the theories in the Empresses, the theory of the uselessness of Taoist companions. Dainyu country is near Mount Ime. The reason why these people came here over the mountains and over the ridges is that they can't calm down their anger. They want to disrupt the meeting and express their anger towards the Queen Kingyu to the monks. After listening to this, even Nai-Chen was a little stunned. He can understand that the queen is secretly hated by some people. After all, there are many people in the world who are jealous of the influence of Tianyun Palace. But why is this country because of this strange reason? Could it be that all the people in the country are single dogs, and they all got angry after hearing the queen's anti-companion remarks? He punched the bearded man in the face. Drag the three people's unconscious bodies to a tree, and Nai-Chen planned to set off directly. Although Dainyu country has a population of 1 million, there is neither a cultivation sect nor a guarding monk among them. If that Kanjai Saint Emperor does not make things clear, Nai-Chen does not mind changing the emperor of this country in a short time. I want to go too, take me with you. I heard that the emperors of mankind all regard dragons as totems. I will definitely be able to show my mighty dragon power in front of that country. Aolan shook Nai-Chen's arm and said coquettishly. Want to go? Then you should practice how to roar like a dragon here first. Nai-Chen dragged Aolan to the cliff without mercy. Stay here honestly. You must learn the dragon roar before I come back. Otherwise, you will have no golden scale dragon carp to eat from now on. No, I will practice. Isn't it okay for me to practice? When the golden scale dragon carp was mentioned, Aolan instantly became timid. She could skip meals, but she must not skip golden scale dragon carp. The golden scale dragon carp is her spiritual sustenance and the goal of all her efforts. In order to show her firm determination, facing the cliff, Aolan practiced again and again. Meow. Woof. Meow. Woof. Holding his forehead, Nai-Chen couldn't help sighing. I finally picked up a golden-scaled Dragon King as a mount, but I never expected that this Dragon King would become like this. If this continues, Aolan will sooner or later forget that he is a dragon and meow all day long. The sound of meow came from behind him one after another, and Nai-Chen had to give up completely and go away helplessly. Although there is no connection with Mount Ime, Danfan country is very close to here, but it can be reached by crossing a few mountains. There are no practitioners in the whole country, and Nai-Chen mixed in without any obstacles. But as soon as he entered Dainyu country, Nai-Chen saw that a low temple was built every few street corners. The wooden statue in the temple was the Queen Kingyu. And these temples are not used for worship, but are allowed to be slandered by the people. In front of a temple in the distance. This The Uselessness of Taoist Companions is an evil book. Everyone, Watch how I burn this evil book. An old figure wearing a black robe and holding a wooden stick stood in front of the crowd. Suddenly, a faint flame burned in his hand. The flame was only the size of a fingertip and swayed in the wind. It seemed that the book The Uselessness of Taoist Companions was about to be ignited. But a slightly stronger wind blew over and blew out the flame in the old man's hand. The scene was a little awkward for a while. But the old man quickly waved his hand. What I performed was a miracle, and how could a miracle be so easy to trigger? After saying that, like squeezing toothpaste, he finally squeezed out a small flame in his hand with great effort. After finally lighting a corner of the book, the swaying flame was messy in the wind and extinguished several times. The old man widened his eyes and used all his strength, wishing he could use all his strength. Only then did he drain his body and finally manage to get the small flame to burn. But this seemingly embarrassing scene instantly caused a boiling sensation around him. A miracle, it's really a miracle. It's such a magical power to be able to ignite a flame with your hands out of thin air. Sure enough, Wizard Wang is the chosen one. It's so scary to be able to use such a terrifying spell. The old wizard shook his hand, with a hint of pride on his face. This is indeed one of the strongest spells I can use, but you don't have to envy this terrifying strength that is 1 in a million. After all, this kind of magic is beyond your reach. I am afraid that there are not many wizards in history who can reach my level. As expected of you, Wizard Wang. Under your leadership, we will definitely be able to avoid the invasion of the evil theory of Empress King Yu. The people became more and more excited. It has long been their daily habit to slander Empress King Yu's theory of the uselessness of Taoist companions. Once a day, they are in a good mood and can get rewards from His Majesty the Emperor. No one will refuse such a good thing. Empress King Yu, absurd. The theory of the uselessness of Taoist companions, absurd. Long live His Majesty the Emperor. The Empress will be black all her life. The shouts rang out one after another. Only a little boy in the crowd wiped the snot from his nose, shook his mother's arm in confusion and said, "Mother, it took the wizard half a day to condense into such a little flame, and it was blown out several times. Wouldn't it be much faster to light the book with a candle directly? Is the wizard stupid?" Hearing this, everyone around the little boy was silent for a moment. The atmosphere seemed a little awkward. After a long time, the little boy's mother reacted and angrily slapped him hard on the butt. "Don't say such stupid things in the future, what do you know? The wizard performed a miracle, a miracle. Even if it doesn't work, it is a miracle given by God. Wow, but I think the wizard is a fool." The innocent little boy burst into tears in confusion. "I can't figure it out at all. Use candles, doesn't it smell good?" Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 156. Nai Chen was speechless. As soon as he crossed over to this world, he appeared as a disciple of the demon sect, and soon he entered the Tianyun Palace, where many talents were born. He had long forgotten that although Lanchuan continent had many practitioners, but most of them were mortals like Danyu country who had no cultivation at all and had nothing to do with cultivators. The housekeeping skills displayed by the wizard in front of him were enough to cause a boil. "Master Wizard, the statue is here." At this moment, a clerk suddenly passed through the crowd and came to Wizard Wang and whispered, "It's finally here." In an instant, Wizard Wang's face showed a hint of excitement. Throwing aside the half-burned on the uselessness of Taoist companions, he excitedly glanced at the people gathered around him. "Although the Empress is guilty of not marrying, His Majesty has also warned us. The slander against the Empress can only stop at matters related to Taoist companions. However, it is different for him. The person who carved this time is the evil person who has slandered and flattered Empress King Yu many times in recent days. When facing him, you don't have to endure it at all, you can vent as much as you want, throw eggs, throw dirty water, and curse whatever you want. Everything you do is a righteous act, and it may arouse the approval of His Majesty the Emperor." As the great wizard finished speaking these words, the onlookers burst into cheers. And in the eyes of the crowd, a masked wooden sculpture was carried by the crowd towards the dilapidated short temple. Who is this wooden sculpture? Nai-Chen couldn't help but feel puzzled. If this country really insulted and slandered Chu Qingyu as he imagined, he wouldn't mind flattening the country as well. But when Nai-Chen came to Dainyu country, he found that the people of this country seemed to have some prejudices against Empress Qingyu. But this prejudice was obviously not pure hatred. Instead, it was a bit like hate out of love. Although this word was a bit strange, the attitude of the people of Dainyu country towards the Empress did sound a bit wavering, and it was obviously not pure hatred. However, facing this newly lifted statue was different. The people present were all gritting their teeth, as if they had been accumulating anger for a long time and wanted to vent all their anger on this statue today. It should be a statue of a man. From the outline of this slightly inferior sculpture, Nai-Chen could only see these things. At the same time, he also quickly noticed that, although this group of people kept talking about the mistakes made by the Empress, the sculptured statue of Chu Qingyu was extremely delicate. Not only is it carefully carved and polished, but it is also obviously maintained every day. It looks spotless and like a fairy. The new statue next to it is completely different. Not only is it thrown aside casually, but both the wood and the carving are obviously very poor. Bang! This person misled the Empress. I think he has been unhappy for a long time. Hit him. It just so happens that I have rotten eggs at home and have nowhere to use them. That's right. If I don't throw the statue hard today, I will not be able to calm my anger. Don't let me see this person, otherwise even if he is a monk, I will definitely beat him up. Don't let me meet him, otherwise I will definitely smash his dog head. Rotten eggs and rotten fruits were thrown at the statues newly placed in the temple one after another. The people were extremely angry, indignant. Hit. Hit hard. Finally, a corner of the linen covering the wood carving was smashed off. As the people continued to bombard, the sackcloth slowly fell, and was finally smashed down by the stone. The appearance of the wood sculpture was fully presented to everyone. The people became even more angry. He is so handsome, no wonder he slandered the Empress. What I hate most is people who are more handsome than me. Smash him. I will vent all my anger on this kid today. The crowd was excited and the people became more intense. Only Nai-Chen, who was standing outside the temple, was slightly stunned. He stared at the appearance of the wood sculpture. Although the carving technique was a bit poor and it was obviously shoddy, but he still saw it quickly. The appearance of this statue, isn't it just me? The statues in the temple were all carved by the dog emperor of this country, and it was the dog emperor who made it clear to the people that he slandered and hated the statues. So, it seems that this dog emperor has a huge prejudice against Tianyuan Temple, especially himself. Nai-Chen had an awkward sneer at the corner of his mouth, and he couldn't help but press his fists. At the same time, the wizard walked in front of the crowd, picked up an egg from a basket of a commoner, and smashed it at the statue of Nai-Chen himself. Crack! The rotten egg broke, and the egg liquid flowed down the wood carving, instantly triggering a burst of passionate applause. Well done, everyone. It seems that everyone has lived up to your Majesty's expectations and recognized what kind of treacherous person Nai-Chen is who slandered the Empress. In this case, I will show you the miracle again and pray for everyone's well-being. The wizard raised his dry arms and said loudly. Great, the wizard is going to show a miracle again. The miracle, that is the miracle of condensing fire out of thin air. The wizard has never shown a miracle twice in one day. I can see the miracle again. I feel my luck has improved again. The people were very excited and cheered continuously. Amid the warm applause, the wizard also raised his two dry arms. Since he had squeezed out the flames twice in a row, he obviously looked a little strenuous this time. Not only was his face flushed, but his face also showed an expression like constipation. Come out for me. After continuous efforts, the wizard's eyes were full of bloodshot and blood lines. Finally, after exhausting all his strength, he finally squeezed out a very tiny flame in his palm. The flame was so small that it was a bit strenuous to look at, as if it could be easily blown away by any gust of wind. But this scene instantly caused the people in the temple to cheer. Too amazing, the wizard is really too strong. As expected of being known as the #1 wizard in our Dania country, Wizard Wang's strength is much more terrifying than that of several other wizards. Nai Chen almost vomited blood. If he can be regarded as the #1 wizard just by pinching a little flame, what abilities do other wizards have? Although other wizards are not as strong as Wizard Wang, they should never be underestimated. The people on the side explained confidently. Wizard Lu, the second wizard in Dania country, has the ability to read minds, but this wizard's ability has not been further developed. At present, he can only read the minds of specific people. Nai Chen was puzzled. Specific people? Yes, Wizard Liu's mind reading can only be used on himself at present. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 157. Can only read your own mind? You call this mind reading? Why, do you still despise the strength of the wizards? Although I have not seen those monks from abroad, the powerful miracles displayed by the wizards have completely surpassed the limits of human beings. I think that even those legendary monks cannot compare with wizards. Hearing the contemptuous voice in his ears, the people turned their heads in dissatisfaction. But staring at Nai Chen, his eyes froze, and then, his eyes gradually filled with shock and fear. Wait, you are... The people took a step back and pointed at Nai Chen in disbelief. Why do you look exactly like that statue? Could it be that you are the evil man beside the Empress? Although the statue was carved a little crudely, if you look closely, you can still tell it apart. Accompanied by the exclamations of the people, one after another of their eyes were attracted. And then, many people gathered near the temple took a breath of cold air at the same time. The crowd retreated involuntarily, shouting in amazement. Wizard, wizard, please save us, that Nai Chen is really here. They look exactly the same, he is Nai Chen. Sir Wizard, please save us. The people who had just thrown fruits and rotten eggs at the wood carvings became timid in an instant, trying their best to hide behind the wizard. Are you Nai Chen? I didn't expect you to go to Dania Kingdom alone instead of taking the road to heaven. It seems that you want to try out the magic power of this wizard. The aura of Wizard Wang suddenly became awe-inspiring, as if he was emitting an unparalleled aura. The look he gave Nai Chen was even colder. Although His Majesty made your wooden sculpture not long ago to warn the people that there are still evil people like you in Tianyun Palace. But the moment this wizard saw the sculpture, he wanted to eliminate you with his own hands. Since you dare to come here, don't blame this wizard for being merciless. This remark made the frightened people feel their blood boiling. As expected of the wizard master, you have such a strong aura. Let him feel the wizard master's anger today. Isn't he just a monk? Can he be on par with the first wizard in our country? The wizard master will definitely crush him easily. This kid doesn't even have 1/10 of the wizard master's strength. Amid the shouts of the people, the wizard also seemed more confident. With a scornful smile on his lips, he stared at Nai Chen coldly and shouted. Miracle, come. Then, from his palm, it started. I've used it too many times today. The wizard was a little embarrassed, and sweat had already appeared on his forehead. Wait a minute, it will be ready soon. You wait for me to summon the miracle, and see how you will be scared to death. The wizard pointed at Nai-Chen fiercely, with a constipated expression, exerting force again and again. Hum. Ha. Roar. It's out, it's finally out. After an unknown amount of time, a little sign of flame finally appeared in his palm. Wizard Wang was so excited that he couldn't help himself. While continuing to squeeze out, he also said harsh words to Nai-Chen. Wait, such a powerful spell, even you cultivators have definitely never seen it, ha ha ha. Ha your head, /. Boom. As Nai-Chen waved his palm casually, a flame shot up into the sky, and the whole temple exploded suddenly. In the raging fire, Nai-Chen took a step forward, and the sacred golden flame burned on his body. The flame was so majestic that it seemed to be able to completely engulf everything. In just a moment, the whole temple was completely reduced to ashes. And in the entire royal capital, hundreds of temples suddenly exploded at the same time, and the fierce flames seemed to be able to engulf everything. The sky was almost illuminated by the flames. The wind blew, and the flames in the wizard's hand disappeared. He was dumbfounded. The people around were all dumbfounded. Compared with this, how could the wizard's flames be a miracle? It was as funny as a child playing house. So, is this the real miracle? The flames shot up into the sky, and the whole royal capital seemed to be burning. I heard that you have a problem with me? Kong Ye Sheng Huang, get out of here. Standing in the sky, Nai-Chen faced the entire royal capital without mercy. Only the strong who have entered the sea-breaking realm can be called the Holy Emperor. Every Holy Emperor is qualified to establish a kingdom, or to form his own faction and enjoy the supreme status. But now, Nai-Chen seems to have no intention of saving any face at all. He even challenged the emperor who they worshipped as a god in front of the entire Dainyu kingdom. Asshole, how dare you insult your majesty like this? Kill him. Shouts and shouts of killing, soldiers raised their weapons and bows and arrows, looking furious. At the same time, from the palace in the center of the capital, a breath suddenly rose. Thousands of leaves fluttered in the air, hovering over the palace. Accompanied by a wave of awe-inspiring air, the leaves suddenly spread out in all directions. And what followed was the powerful pressure from the sea-breaking realm strongmen. In this country that has nothing to do with cultivators, there is actually a sea-breaking realm Holy Emperor hidden. Are you Nai-Chen? You look pretty much like what I imagined. A figure slowly floated in the air. To Nai-Chen's surprise, the Saint Emperor who ruled the country was actually a woman. She had beautiful eyebrows and eyes, and her skin was whiter than snow. Although she was not stunning, she was also very beautiful. But Nai-Chen could clearly feel her hostility towards him. I don't know why Saint Emperor Kongya hates the Empress and me. However, can you trouble the Saint Emperor to remove the statues of this country? In this way, the grudge between you and me can be written off. Nai-Chen's tone did not spare any face. You oppress my people, and you still want me to let you go? I will not remove any statues of you and the Empress. Saint Emperor Kongya had no intention of backing down. In that case, don't blame me. Nai-Chen took a step forward. What do you want to do? Saint Emperor Kongya looked at each other coldly. What are you doing? It's just to flatten Dainyu country and beat up a Saint Emperor like you who doesn't know the big picture. You are so brave, do you think you can rely on your strength? The Saint Emperor Kongjai was finally enraged. Endless leaves gathered in the air, sometimes turning into dragons, sometimes turning into wind with wings. But, the condensed breath was directed at Nai-Chen. I wanted to settle accounts with you, since you dare to come and die, then I will send you off. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 158. Thousands of green leaves condensed into a phoenix. The phoenix spread its wings and flew high, the warm wind rustled, the fallen leaves swept, and the phoenix swooped down towards Nai-Chen mercilessly. Phoenix? Let it take a look at its true ancestor. Nai-Chen held the Nirvana Phoenix sword in his hand, and the raging flames suddenly rose. The endless flames condensed and transformed into a majestic fire phoenix. In the high-pitched cry, the fire phoenix was extremely majestic, and the sweeping flames seemed to be able to engulf everything. The phoenix was reborn from the fire. This fire phoenix seemed to be the real phoenix that roamed the sky and was not bound by heaven and earth. The two phoenixes collided at one place, and the green leaves were instantly engulfed, and they were all burned in the blazing fire. It seemed to want to save face. A giant dragon formed by the gathering of green leaves roared down, and its huge mouth seemed to completely engulf Nai-Chen in it. But facing this overwhelming dragon that even blocked the sun, Nai-Chen took out a piece of dazzling golden scale without panic. This golden scale was pulled from Aolan. Although Aolan screamed in pain at that time, this dragon scale was a genuine dragon scale. A real phoenix meets a fake phoenix, a real dragon meets a fake dragon. The golden light was bright, and the golden dragon phantom went straight up, and the dragon roared loudly. Boom! The huge sense of oppression suddenly spread to the surroundings, and the aftermath of the collision exuded terrifying power. The two attacks from the Holy Emperor were easily taken by Nai-Chen. Even Nai-Chen had a slight advantage. Each major realm is like a chasm between heaven and earth, and the Holy Emperor of the sea-breaking realm is the best among them. Even the Holy Emperor Kongye obviously did not expect it at all. In this case, please stay in Dainyu country. Finally, she seemed to be completely angry. The green leaves flying all over the sky seemed to be summoned and flew towards her. The fierce hurricane swept through, and in the hands of the Leaf Saint Emperor, thousands of leaves continued to condense and turned into a sword made entirely of green leaves. However, the sword tip was extremely sharp. Not only did it not look like it was made of leaves at all, it exuded a majestic majesty. One leaf opens the sky, the Saint Emperor's virtual image. As the sword was slashed out, all the mighty power gathered on the sword tip. The power of the Saint Emperor was like a mountain, surging like a vast ocean. After this sword, it seemed as if there was a towering tree as huge as a mountain. The tree was covered with green leaves, and the fallen leaves fluttered down. Each leaf seemed to fall like a mountain. Nai-Chen's aura also rose suddenly. On his left pupil, a dazzling golden light shone. Perspective. Oh no, I used it wrong. Spiritual pupil pressure. In an instant, Nai-Chen's eyes swept over, as if a great emperor was here in person, with endless majesty, which made people feel cold in their hearts. Saint Emperor Kongye? I wonder how strong you are when facing the three emperors at the same time. The jade seal was suspended in the air, and the thunder surrounding it was the 10,000 thunders into one art condensed from 10,000 thunders. Without any signs, three golden phantoms covered the sky, and the thunder flashing on them seemed to have the power to destroy the world. The sword slashed up, and the phantom fell. Amidst the huge roar, a terrifying and powerful aftermath broke out. Everything in the sky above the Dainyu kingdom seemed to be annihilated into ashes in this aftermath. The towering buildings were cut in half, and the flying birds were instantly turned into ashes. This terrifying atmosphere was pervasive, and all the mortals in the capital looked up at the sky in astonishment, with fear and chills in their hearts, as if they had seen a god. Is this the real miracle? They had never seen a cultivator before, and they only felt fear in their hearts. The scene in the sky was like the sky falling and the earth collapsing, the end of the world. The wrath of the Holy Emperor could slaughter a country. This huge aura even spread to the surrounding small countries, mountains, and sects. Even the disciples of Mount Ime looked at the distance in astonishment, feeling a chill in their hearts. Is this a battle between holy emperors? No, Why is there a breath so familiar? Could it be that the person fighting the Holy Emperor is Nai Chen? Countless people looked in astonishment towards the direction of Danya country, and were completely shocked by this terrible aura. At this moment, Nai Chen and Holy Emperor Kanjai were already fighting in full swing. The difference in realm was indeed difficult to overcome easily. But every attack of Holy Emperor Kanjai was completely resolved, which made her completely impatient. Blindness. Suddenly, thousands of leaves dispersed, and instantly surrounded and swept around, encircling Nai Chen. These leaves were so dense that there was no gap at all, and they flowed like water. They covered the sky and the earth, were so dense and thick that they completely blocked Nai Chen's vision. In front of him, there were only countless leaves and the unbreakable leaf barrier. The leaves kept changing, and the space was twisted and trembling. In the center of this strange formation, Nai Chen's actions seemed to be restricted. A strong wind blew, and attacks came one after another. The leaves turned into extremely sharp blades, flying and cutting one after another, as if they wanted to kill Nai Chen completely here. First you, then the Empress. You just awakened a true body of enlightenment, do you think you can beat me? Strangely, there was no hatred in the tone of the Saint Emperor Kong yet. Although cold, one could hear a hint of resentment from it. It's like an angry child having a tantrum. And why, I always feel that the somewhat weird Holy Emperor's attitude towards the Empress seems to be love and hate. Nai Chen couldn't help but feel a little doubt in his heart. However, no matter what the reason is, if you dare to express negative emotions towards your wife, you must teach her a lesson. At the same time, the figures of the Holy Emperor Kanjai shuttled between the leaf barriers one after another. It was as if she blended in with the thousands of leaves, and her figure could not be captured at all. Using the fallen leaves as a barrier, she struck out many times and attacked one after another. Seeing that Nai Chen had no way to catch him, it seemed that he was gradually starting to lose his strength. Holy Emperor Kanjai relaxed his vigilance and did not intend to continue to waste it like this. Do you think you can defeat me across the realm? Let's end it. The Holy Emperor Kanjai snorted coldly, and his figure suddenly merged into the leaves. The next second, she appeared silently behind Nai Chen, and a touch of Lingran aura suddenly emerged from the leaf blade in her hand. But at this moment, she suddenly saw the golden light flashing in Nai Chen's eyes. Perspective. In Nai Chen's eyes, all obstacles completely disappeared. Holy Emperor Kongya had just emerged, and his unsuspecting figure was exposed in front of him. You are the one who ends it? The fire phoenix cries, and the Nirvana sword cuts out. In this sword, there is endless power that far transcends realms. Holy Emperor Kongya hurriedly resisted, but the sword in his hand suddenly disappeared under this sword. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 159. Heavenly Magic Weapon? How could you have such a powerful sword in your hand? When a phoenix meets a phoenix, the dragon is eaten by the dragon. Holy Emperor Kongya never expected that all the spells he used would be easily resolved by Nai Chen. And this sword? Boom! The raging flames were so powerful that they completely engulfed the sword in her hand. Far beyond the expectations of Holy Emperor Kanjai, at this moment, Nai Chen suddenly dropped the sword in his hand, and a bright golden light burned on his right arm. Thousands of leaves were flying, but the Nirvana sword was like a big shield, blocking everything out. And what followed was this unhesitating punch. Bang! It crashed down suddenly with a mighty force, tearing apart all the protective aura of Holy Emperor Kongya. Her body could no longer hold up and fell downwards like a kite with its string broken. Amidst the loud noise, before Holy Emperor Kanjai could break free, Nai Chen suddenly appeared, and the flaming Nirvana sword pressed against her neck. The blade had not moved, but a stream of blood had flowed down. You actually lost. She didn't expect this result at all. He entered the sea-opening realm and became known as the Holy Emperor, but he was defeated so simply. Kill or behead, it's up to you. Holy Emperor Kanjai stared at Nai Chen closely, seemingly unwilling to admit defeat. Are you sure? Nai Chen's hand holding the sword moved slightly, as if he was really about to slash it down. If anyone else had said such words, Nai Chen would have given her death without hesitation. However, this Holy Emperor Kong Ye, who seemed to have opinions about himself and the Empress, was obviously a little different. Nai Chen could vaguely feel that she did not really hate the Empress, and even her relationship with the Empress was not ordinary. Kill if you want. Anyway, I have already treated the Empress. Holy Emperor Kanjai was just halfway through his words when his eyes suddenly looked into the distance in a daze. At the same time, a cold breath floated from a distance, faintly mixed with the terrifying mighty imperial power. Nai Chen couldn't help but turn around. The person who came was none other than Chu Qingyu. In an instant, the entire Dainyu kingdom became solemn. The people all over the earth looked into the sky, but no one made a sound at this moment. That awe-inspiring pressure seems to be enough to make everyone bow down. Under the gaze of the entire Dainyu kingdom, Chu Qingyu slowly floated down next to Nai Chen. Honey, are you here so soon? Nai Chen smiled. There were no other monks in Dainyu. They were so far apart that no one else could hear him. But Saint Emperor Kong Ye heard those two words just now clearly. Wife? You. She looked at Nai Chen and Chu Qingyu in shock. Let's go in first and then talk. Chu Qingyu said, then directly grabbed the collar of Holy Emperor Kanjai and flew into the forbidden area of the palace in the distance. There was no one around, so Nai Chen asked doubtfully. Honey, why do I always feel that this little Holy Emperor's attitude is not quite right? What is your relationship? Hey, this is a long story. Chu Qingyu sighed and said. She was actually a very qualified disciple of Tianyun Palace, and I even planned to select her as the holy envoy of Xingluo Palace. However, this girl was dissatisfied with me, so she left Tianyun Palace and never went back. Dissatisfied? That's right, just ask her. Humph, Empress, it's been a long time no see. Surprisingly, even in front of Chu Qingyu, Holy Emperor Kanjai still acted a little unconvinced. I am indeed dissatisfied with the Empress, but if it weren't for the Empress, she would be at fault first. As she spoke, she couldn't help but clenched her fists, as if she didn't want to recall this past. The Empress has always been the greatest and most outstanding person in my heart, and I have sworn to be loyal to the Empress forever. But there is one thing that I can never agree with. I don't understand that a wonderful person like the Empress should enjoy all the happiness in the world. But why, the Empress would firmly reject the Taoist companion and would rather be alone. I didn't want to see the Empress as lonely as ever, so I left Tianyun Palace. So, I established a country here and preached my words, just hoping to make the Empress change her mind. As long as the Empress has no lover for a day, I will continue to fight as the Holy Emperor of Dainyu Kingdom. Even if there is a slight possibility, I don't want to see a perfect being like the Empress die alone. Speaking of the latter part, Holy Emperor Kanjai had tears in his eyes, and his emotions had obviously reached their extreme. I can't bear it, I can't bear it, oh. Kong Ye, didn't you say that you can see the marriage lines in others? Why don't you look at me now? At this moment, Chu Qingyu suddenly said something. Kong Ye was obviously stunned for a moment, and she raised her head slightly with red eyes, looking a little confused. But when she looked at Chu Qingyu with the unique secret method that could detect other people's marriage, she was stunned for a moment. At this moment, Chu Qingyu's body was actually wrapped with marriage threads. Moreover, the marriage thread was extremely tight, almost tightly bound to Chu Qingyu, as if nothing could shake it. The most important thing is that upon closer inspection, Kong Ye was extremely shocked to find that these seemingly numerous marriage lines were actually only one. Just one thread of marriage can be so long and tight, how unbreakable is this marriage? Kang Ye was shocked and couldn't believe it at all. But then, endless joy came to her mind. Empress, do you have a Taoist partner? Chu Qingyu nodded slightly. Empress. Tears poured out, and in just a moment, Kang Ye completely lost her previous arrogance, and cried like a tearful person. The reason why she left Tianyun Palace was that she couldn't bear to see Chu Qingyu scene that no marriage line dared to touch. But she never expected that after 100 years, the Empress not only finally changed her mind. This marriage line is so tightly entangled. Empress Ye was wrong. It's hard to tell whether Kang Ye was sad or relieved in her crying. Chu Qingyu deliberately said with some imperial power, "Little Ye, give me a shoulder massage." Yes. Little Ye, pour me a glass of water. Yes. Kang Ye was busy and attentive, but she seemed very happy. At this moment, she no longer had the slightest bit of the Saint Emperor's airs or the Empress' dissatisfaction. She was busy in and out, but she was very happy. Empress, please forgive my previous hasty behavior. Outside the palace, Kang Ye had already led thousands of people to bow their heads. Although she did not dare to tell anyone about the secret of the Empress's Taoist partner. Leading the people to bow their heads, Kang Ye looked at Nai Chen with a smile. At this moment, her wish was finally fulfilled. Ding, complete the 100-year wish of Saint Emperor Kang Ye, and get the reward, Bodhi Leaf. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 160. Nai Chen finally understood why die-hard fans are most likely to turn into negative fans. It turned out that this holy Emperor Kanjai was a typical case of deep love and hatred for the Empress. At this moment, Kang Ye, who finally got his wish, was obviously extremely happy. He had long forgotten his usual airs as the holy emperor, and his attachment to the Empress was completely relieved. After arranging his men to prepare a residence and a banquet, Kang Ye felt that the sun seemed to be smiling at him today. It has been a long time since I last saw the Empress. Although the Empress is so cold that people dare not approach her, Kang Ye already feels extremely happy as long as she can be by her side. She came outside the palace excitedly, just like she had gone to Tianyun Palace to meet the Empress. He was respectful and solemn, but his heart was beating very fast like a little rabbit bumping around. Step by step, he walked quietly outside. Just as Kang Ye was about to enter, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. In the palace, Nai Chen was sitting next to Chu Qingyu and said with a smile, "I didn't expect you, my wife, would have such a deep affection for you as a disciple. I thought that before you met me, you were always an ice cube that no one could melt. Isn't it?" Chu Qingyu looked at him angrily and said, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have." That seems to be true. Nai Chen thought about it and quickly smiled. Wouldn't that be better? This is enough to show how much you love me, wife. You. Chu Qingyu was choked by this sudden emotion, and she was instantly speechless. Nai Chen continued at this moment. However, after visiting Danya Kingdom, I also learned something new. Something new? Chu Qingyu was slightly curious. Yes, it has something to do with this leaf. Nai Chen took out a leaf, shook it twice in front of Chu Qingyu, and said mysteriously. Actually, I suddenly understood a magical method. Just using this leaf, I can create extremely amazing spells. Even if you, my wife, see it, you probably won't be able to keep your mind. Can you make me unable to keep my mind? Chu Qingyu smiled slightly, looking slightly satisfied. During this period of time, Nai Chen always liked to do some weird things, causing himself to be embarrassed many times. But as a powerful emperor, It seems that he is really looked down upon. Chu Qingyu looked very confident. This is not to brag. Even among the powerful men who have also entered the waiting realm, there are very few great emperors who can match my state of mind. As for spells, I don't think there are any spells in the world that can interfere with this emperor's state of mind. Honey, are you sure? Nai Chen had a subtle smile. Of course, you can use it as you like, and I can even cooperate with you. However, my state of mind cannot be broken. Chu Qingyu said calmly. Okay, then I will accept this challenge. Next, my wife, just follow the steps I told you, and I will show you the spell that is enough to disturb the mood of the powerful emperor. Bring it on. Facing Nai Chen, who was also quite confident, Chu Qingyu was not afraid. However, she didn't notice the cunning flash in Nai Chen's eyes at all. Get ready, this spell is extremely magical. Nai Chen gently placed a leaf in front of Chu Qingyu's eyes. This leaf is slightly larger, just enough to cover Chu Qingyu's eyes. Nai Chen said, this spell of mine is called One Leaf Blind Eye. Next, as long as I close my eyes, I can immediately cast a spell that is enough to affect the emperor's state of mind. I want to see what this spell is. Hearing Nai Chen's confident remarks, even Chu Qingyu couldn't help but feel a little curious. But even so, she didn't believe what Nai Chen said at all. The state of mind of the powerful emperor has been tempered by heaven and is as stable as a rock. How can it be so easily affected? Slowly closing her eyes, Chu Qingyu looked forward to Nai Chen's expression after his failure. Time passed minute by minute, and nothing happened. But just when Chu Qingyu closed her eyes and relaxed a little, she suddenly felt a soft feeling on her cheeks. Yet, after removing the leaves, what she saw before her eyes was Nai Chen's proud smile. The strange touch just now was nothing else, it was Nai Chen who suddenly kissed him on the cheek. Brush. Chu Qingyu's jade-like cheeks turned red instantly, and she felt like her brain was dizzy, and steam seemed to come out of her head. Bang bang bang. There was silence in the huge palace, except for the sound of the beating heart. However, the heartbeat was several times faster than usual. Ha ha ha, isn't it great? Wife, you lost again. Nai Chen couldn't help laughing. Taking advantage and still winning the game, where can such a good thing be found? Especially Chu Qingyu's soft cheeks, not only soft and waxy like honey. There was even a trace of coldness, just a kiss, but the wonderful touch was enough to be deeply engraved in my heart. My wife's face is so kissable. You are cheating. Chu Qingyu pointed at Nai Chen, her shy cheeks almost completely dyed red. Ha ha, you never tire of deceit. Besides, who said this can't be considered a magic? Isn't a magic that can call my wife a real magic even if a powerful emperor like you is shy? Excessive. If you think it's too much, wife, you can kiss her back. I don't want it. If you don't want it, I'll continue to take the initiative. Hey, this is still in Danya country, what are you doing? Wife, you always say one thing and mean another. Outside the palace, Kong Ye was completely stunned watching this scene, and her heart was aching as if a sword was stabbed in it. She really hoped that the Empress could have a Taoist partner, and no longer be cold and alone like before. But this is really too much. How can you sit in someone else's palace, sit on someone else's dragon throne, show off your love? And, is this still the Empress in my impression? Why do I suddenly feel that I don't know the Empress at all? Not long ago, I heard a rumor that there seemed to be a breath of the Empress going to Mount Imei to hold a Taoist partner sugar-giving conference, but Kong Ye didn't believe it at all. And I firmly believe that even if the Empress went, she must want to put an end to this weird conference. But now she has completely confirmed it. The Empress has changed, completely changed. Since she got a Taoist partner, the Empress has been showing off her love to too much. Woohoo! At this moment, Kang Ye suddenly felt a little regretful. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 161. In the next half-day, Chu Qingyu and Nai Chen roughly visited Dainyu Kingdom. It is almost certain that these common people are as duplicitous as Holy Emperor Kanjai. On the surface, he was opposed to the Empress, but in fact, he was very respectful. "Empress, are you leaving now?" Hearing that Chu Qingyu planned to return to Tianyuan Palace, Kang Ye couldn't hide the feeling of reluctance. "By the way, Empress, I have one more thing." Kang Ye suddenly flicked his fingers towards King Dainyu's capital. Suddenly, countless fallen leaves were flying. All the temples that were originally burned were restored, and the brief text on them that opposed Empress Qingyu's on the uselessness of Taoist companions suddenly turned into a large praise for the Empress. Obviously, she has had this idea for a long time. That's not bad. Chu Qingyu nodded slightly. She didn't punish Kang Ye before because she knew she had no bad intentions. But heavy crimes can be absolved, but punishment cannot be absolved. You should deal with Dainyu's domestic affairs first, and after you return to Tianyuan Palace, you can spend a year thinking about it while facing the wall and copying the rules 1,000 times. Chu Qingyu exuded an inviolable majesty of the emperor. Yes, this disciple will definitely return to Tianyuan Palace as soon as possible. Kang Ye bowed his head respectfully, not daring to take any more jokes. He was even more awestruck in his heart, shocked by the majesty of this formidable emperor. The Empress is still the same Empress. She is deeply aware of this. Looking at Chu Qingyu's leaving figure, the entire Dainyu kingdom bowed their heads in awe and reverence. Ding, successfully made Dainyu kingdom completely surrender. Get the reward, the world condensing pill. Condensing world pill. This elixir is of the highest grade on earth. In addition to being extremely precious, it is also very useful. Every time a monk crosses a big realm, even if he succeeds, the monk's realm will be relatively empty for a long time, and he will not be able to possess the normal strength of this realm. Moreover, if this period of time cannot be passed smoothly, it may even affect the stability of the realm. But a boundary condensing pill can make the realm as stable as a rock, unshakable. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and a 9-story tower rises from the base of the earth. The preciousness of such a condensed pill is enough to be seen. Besides, it should be soon. He was now at the peak of Xianyuan realm. Feeling the majestic spiritual energy in his body, Nai Chen could clearly feel that he was not far from the threshold of final breakthrough. Above the clouds, Nai Chen suddenly took off his coat and put it on Chu Qingyu. "What is this for?" Chu Qingyu was stunned for a moment. Nai Chen smiled and said, "The air above the clouds is so cold, I'm afraid it will freeze you, my wife." "I'm kidding, I have the body of a great emperor, how could I be frozen so easily?" "Even so." But feeling Nai Chen's meticulous care for her, Chu Qingyu inadvertently tightened Nai Chen's clothes around her body. "Really, this guy is always like this." With an arrogant snort, Chu Qingyu secretly glanced at Nai Chen, but quickly avoided her gaze. It didn't take long for him to return to Tianyuan Palace. Seeing the two returning, Elder Wang, who had been waiting nearby, immediately came forward to greet them. "Welcome to the Empress." Leaning down, Elder Wang was filled with infinite reverence. "Well, nothing happened in Tianyuan Palace during the past 2 days when I was out, right?" Chu Qingyu asked coldly. Elder Wang quickly replied, "There is nothing else besides destroying a small country that has ill intentions towards the Empress." Chu Qingyu nodded slightly and returned to Tianyuan Palace first. Only Nai Chen and Elder Wang were left, and Elder Wang was obviously much more relaxed. He looked at Nai Chen and asked cautiously, "You and the Empress didn't come back for 2 full days this time. What happened? Could it be that it was still the 2 giant pythons from last time?" "That's right. Nai Chen nodded solemnly and praised. Elder Wang is indeed knowledgeable. This time I went out with the Empress, and accidentally ran into those two monstrous beasts again. Although the location was different last time, the battle between them was more intense and skillful. Its ferocity is so fierce that not even the mighty Emperor can easily resist it. Even the powerful Emperor. Unexpectedly, such strange beasts still exist in the world. However, except for the Empress, no one should dare to go and watch the battle between these ancient ferocious beasts in person. Elder Wang looked solemn. He did not expect that this matter was so important, and his respect for the Empress became deeper and deeper. Nai Chen, you have done a great job. The old man and other supreme elders are incompetent and have no qualifications to accompany the Empress. If you encounter such a dangerous thing again in the future, you must help the Empress. If the situation is in danger, the Empress must be stopped in time. Elder Wang warned extremely seriously. Don't worry. Nai Chen vowed to pat Elder Wang on the shoulder. As expected of you, it seems that the Empress's vision is really unique. Elder Wang suddenly laughed with joy. Along the way back, disciples kept saying hello to Nai Chen. After returning to the room and closing the door, Nai Chen sat down quietly and took out a leaf from his arms. This leaf is the Bodhi leaf rewarded by the system. The leaves of Bodhi are falling into the world of mortals. The surface of this leaf is plain, but if you look closely, you can feel a pure and vigorous aura flowing through it. This aura is not only extremely majestic, but also carries a sense of mystery that is hard to fathom. There are Buddhist sects in Lanchuan continent, and there are also legends related to Buddha. Although it was a piece of wool pulled from the Holy Emperor, even Nai Chen did not expect that the reward this time would be such a precious thing. Object: Bodhi leaf. Grade: can comprehend enlightenment. Comprehension probability: good guy. Even the system panel was frustrated. This Bodhi leaf is obviously not an ordinary thing. However, wool comes from sheep. The stronger the sheep, the better the quality of wool can be produced. Spiritual pupil, insight. A golden light flashed in Nai Chen's eyes, and the spiritual pupil was fully opened. At the same time, the enlightenment body kept running, absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and not only integrating the perception into the leaves, but also returning it to the brain. One flower, one grass, one tree, one leaf. From the most fundamental root stem, the leaves extend veins. The veins carry the leaves and lead to the distance, constantly changing. It was as if thousands of Sanskrit sounds sounded in his ears. For a moment, Nai Chen's eyes froze, and the whole person completely stopped. Staring at the leaf in his hand, in a blink of an eye, the sun rose and set, and a day passed. The sun rose and set again, and the stars evolved, but Nai Chen still stared at the Bodhi leaf in his hand, without moving. Until the third day. Ding, congratulations to the host, you have successfully realized the enlightenment.